Imagine this, you just graduated as an international student, you are on F1 visa, but you haven't landed your dream job yet. Your EAD started has just kicked in and the 90-day of that unemployment clock is ticking. To stop the clock, you decide that, okay, let's do an unpaid internship or a volunteer work, and that's normal. You think now that you have some breathing room and you can now focus on getting a real full-time paid job. But here's the catch. Without an official time tracking system, how do you prove that you're really working? Especially if you travel outside of United States and then come back, a CBP officer at the airport can ask for a proof. And how do you provide the evidence that you're actually working in an unpaid internship or a volunteer organization other than just an offer letter? You see, this is why it is important to document your timesheet and time tracking that you worked 20 hours or more and in the field of your education, which was approved by your supervisor. And that is exactly what I plan to cover. How do you do it practically in this video? If you're new to this channel, my name is Yudi, and about 11 years ago, I was in your shoes as an international student on F1 visa. And now I've been working in the tech industry for almost 8 years. And on this channel, we talk about everything related to studying in United States and building a successful career and life here. Before we get into the details of the video, if you are an Indian international student or working professional like me, then I know one of the things that you would be doing is sending money back to your family or friends in India. You see, in last 10 years of being in United States, I've tried multiple platforms, and most of them either have a high fees or a lower conversion rate. That is just one of the ways to cover those fees. But then I found Krobo Money 5 months ago, or now 6 months ago, who's kindly sponsoring this video. Trust me when I say this, they by far provide the best conversion rate in the market, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can actually test this out and compare it with multiple platforms yourself. It will be very close to Google conversion rates. I've actually tested myself, and I met with the founder and the team, and they have $0 fees on even if you want to send as little as $50. So they are super secure and they will refund your money if anything goes wrong. On the top of this, if you sign up using my special link, which will be in the description, and you make a transaction over $500, you will also get a $25 Amazon gift card. Again, I'll put the link in the description. All right, let's get into the video. By the way, I'm not an immigration lawyer, so this is not a legal advice. I'm simply sharing my insights from real stories and from our live immigration session. So please consult an immigration lawyer if you need for your specific situation. Okay, you see, when you're on OPT, once your EAD start date arrives, you get about 90 days of unemployment before your status is at risk. That means if you're not a full-time paid role, you might decide to do like an unpaid work or a volunteer work to stay compliant. And you see, UCS is okay with it. They are like, okay, you can do this as long as you work 20 hours or more, and it has to be related to your field of education. So how do you document this? Here are 4 options. Option number 1 is using your own company's time tracking system. So I know that we have time tracking system, and even in my previous company, they had their own time tracking system. So if you're volunteering or if you're doing an unpaid internship, and if they have a way to track time using their apps, that is one of the best way, because then you can just enter the time and it gets approved by your manager or a supervisor. Super easy, and it's much more official. Things get tricky when they don't have a time tracking system, which probably is going to be most common because it is an unpaid internship and volunteer jobs, and they don't tend to have these systems yet. So option number 2 is creating your own timesheet. If there's not an official system, what you can do is, I'm going to provide a Google timesheet. This is exactly timesheet like what I had when I was doing my internship. So you can take an inspiration from this. Again, I'll put the link in the description. You can feel free to use it. You can create your own timesheet by documenting each day for weekly purposes. And again, do it weekly, so that way you can get it approved every Friday or every Monday next week. And you can document which project you're working on, what was the task, and then on the below you can get a signature saying like, hey, this is what my manager approved. It can be a digital signature or just a name. Again, and do it all on paper, on email, so there's a trail that yes, you were working and it is all documented. Here is the timesheet. Number 3 is, if you don't want to create a Google spreadsheet and do the hard work, then you can use some time tracking app, which I actually personally use it for, not time sheets, but mainly to figure out where my time is going. So the apps that I use is Toggle, but you can use Clockify or ClickUp. Both of them have a detailed timesheet generation report available. So as long as you're working, you can just click start, and it's like a clock in, clock out type of thing. You can spend, let's say, 4 hours on researching something for your professor if you're doing work for your professor, and you can click on it, and then you can document like, okay, I worked on this. It will generate a 20 hours plus however long you worked. It'll generate a timesheet. You take that timesheet and then you send it to your professor or a manager or a supervisor and say like, hey, here's the work I did for 20 hours. Can you please just email me saying like this is approved and I agree that yes, you did work on those things. Again, the goal is to get everything documented on paper so that way you are compliant. Option number 4 and least preferred is to get an email from your supervisor every week or every other week saying that this is to confirm that Yudi has been working for 20 hours as per so-and-so role, and below are the responsibilities that are listed and the projects that he worked on from this date to this date. I am the supervisor approving this timesheet. So again, this is like a very, very vague one, and I personally don't like it because it has a lot of like vagueness. But that is also another way where if for some reason your supervisor doesn't want to approve your timesheet but wants to send an email, you can do it. But again, I prefer option 1, 2, or 3. Now, I know some of you might think like, okay, this is not a big deal. I'll just remember my hours and so forth. This is a big mistake. If a USCIS or a CBP officer, if they ask for a proof, and if you can't provide it, you are risking the violating of your status, and it will have a bad consequences, especially if you want a STEM OPT extension and H-1B and green card and all of it. So it's just better to be safe than sorry. So my recommendation is to work 20 hours per week or more related to your field of education. Save all the emails and letter and timesheets, everything, whether it's digital or printed, getting like an actual signature on the paper. Document it. Having everything organized will help you in a long run. Trust me. All right, that is it for today's video. If you are also an international student struggling to find a job, I have an ultimate job hunting course and it comes with a community. Highly recommend that you check it out. Let me know if you have any question about that as well in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep smiling and keep hustling. You gotta hustle every single day.